special presentation to make. So I would like to call the regular council meeting of March the 17th to order at 5:30 p.m. And I should probably say happy St. Patrick's Day, especially for anybody of Irish descent. Tried to find a slightly green tie. But to start the meeting, we have a special presentation. It's a 20-year service recognition medal for Robert Popovic, our emergency manager, emergency services manager. Robert joined the fire department in May of 2000. He became the training officer in April of 2011, and he became captain training officer in January 2016. He is the emergency services manager, fire chief in June 2020. Coming up for a year now of service, of that service. And this is the 20-year service medal from the Governor General of Canada. I'm going to hold it right up to the screen, to the camera. It's a beautiful medal. I hope you can see this. So Robert, in the way we do things now, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your service to the municipality, 20 years.
Yeah, can't believe it's been 20 years, but it's been awesome being here. So and serving the community. So.
Great, and it's good after, I guess, 10 months or so of those 20 years, you've been in a new position. So
yeah,
wonderful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Robert.
Thank you, everyone.
On behalf of council, thank you. I'm just going to return to my desk and join you in a moment.
Yeah.
Evening, I'm back on. You can hear me? Good. All right, item 2, introduction of amendments to the agenda. Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. A motion to confirm that the agenda of the regular council meeting March 5th, 17th, 2021 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. And adoption of minutes. A motion to adopt the minutes of the following meetings: the February 17th, 2021 statutory public meeting minutes and the February 17th, 2021 regular council meeting minutes be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Howie, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Motion to receive the minutes of the following municipal boards, commissions, and committees. October 19th, 2020 Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee meeting, and the November 16th, 2020 Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee meeting. The December 3rd, 2020 Hudson Area Advisory Committee meeting, the January 7th, 2021 Sioux Environment Committee meeting, and the January 26th, 2021 Sioux Committee of Adjustment meeting. That those meetings be received. I got the right word? Yes, received. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And finally, a motion to receive the minutes from outside agencies and boards. October 29th, 2020, District of Kenora Home for the Aged meeting minutes, and December 3rd, 2020, District of Kenora Home for the Aged meeting minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. Item 7.1, 2020 annual summary reports, municipal drinking water system, Hudson and Sioux. Nobody's going to lift it. I guess I can't comment on it. Councillor Bath, you'll lift it. Thank you. I don't want to keep, are we keeping any staff? This won't take long when we get to it, so I think we're okay. That's lifted. COVID tourism modification project, consultant contract. No, dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation. No. 7.4, transfer of asset management projects. No, thank you. 7.5, designated substance removal and selective demolition. I see nobody, thank you. 7.6, Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee recommendation to Council re Northway Cemetery, Northern Section, Common Memorial. No, thank you. And finally, nope, not finally, 7.7, Municipal TRC Committee Annual Work Plan and Budget Request. No, thank you.
No,
sorry.
I'm lifting it, but you can't hear me.
No, I couldn't. I can't. Are you raising? Sorry. Yep, got you. You haven't lifted anything else, have you, Councillor Timpson? I haven't heard you yet.
And no, that was the only one. 7.7.
Okay. 7.7 or 8? Oh, sorry, 7.7. Yeah.
Yes, 7.
7.7. Thank you. 7.8, update to cemeteries bylaw. I see some people with their hands on their heads, but I'll rely on a wave and turn on your mic. I see nobody. Thank you. 7.9, the keeping of chickens. Councillor Timpson.
Here.
Thank you. And 7.10, health and safety policies and procedures. I see no one. Thank you. So I'll go through the items lifted. 7.1, 7.7, and 7.9. Did I get those right? I hear nobody objecting, so those are the 3 items listed. Adoption of items not requiring separate discussion. A motion to adopt items 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.8, and 7.10. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Howie. All in favor? Carried. And moving on then to staff reports. No, we'll do the delegation, clerk, first. Thank you.
Yeah.
So 8.1 delegation. We do have a delegation this evening. Goliath Gold Complex. And is it Mac Potter is on the line? Mac Potter, Manager of Environment and Community Relations, Treasury Metals Incorporated. And unless there's any staff doing any introductions, I will turn the table over to you, Mr. Potter.
Thank you, Mayor Lawrence, and appreciate the time tonight to present the Goliath Gold Project and introduce, we spoke to a number of the individuals on the line tonight earlier in the year, but reintroduce members of council and respective Sioux positions in terms of the Goliath Gold Complex. As the foremost project essentially in the neighborhood, as the neighborly project down the highway, we thought it was a very good moment in time with the recent release of our preliminary economic assessment and the acquisition of the Goldland project and the Miller and Goldland deposits to bring to light where we're at in terms of project status, next steps, as well as just to speak to a project as a whole. And of course, this is it's a very brief introduction, but we welcome the opportunity anytime through Vicky and her team to speak to the project in more detail. And obviously COVID notwithstanding, be in person sooner than later. I'll share my screen here. Oh,
You may, Mac, want to introduce Mark and the team.
yes. Also on the line for Treasury Metals tonight is Mark Wheeler, Director of Projects, and Mackenzie Denise, our Manager of Regulatory Affairs. Mark's been with the project for nearly a decade, leading Goliath through the federal EA process myself, and Mackenzie was a recent join last year. Happy to have her aboard and round out the team. We did have a short presentation to present tonight. Can I share my screen?
Yes, we're just making those arrangements with tech support right now. If you can just bear with us for a moment.
No problem.
I'd like to welcome Mackenzie and Mark as well.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Well, in any case, Mac, I mean, I can kind of get going a little bit here and talk through the awkward silence a little bit. But
Yeah, I think that's probably the best approach to once IT figured out here. So I will turn it over to Mark and to all council members and obviously yourself, Mayor Lawrence. Some of you have seen this information before, some have not. Feel free to pepper us with questions, whether it be project related, economic related, engineering, or community related. You have the technical team here. This is the senior staff leading the project forward. Do not hesitate to ask us questions now or after the meeting if yourself or any member of your family or household that you know have questions. And Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
perfect. Thanks, Mac. And we appreciate everyone taking their time and having us here to speak tonight. I know everyone's busy, and we appreciate it. You guys were pretty efficient and quick on getting through all those items. I'm pretty impressed. But hopefully we can just give you a bit of a rundown of what we're calling the Goliath Gold Complex. There's probably a few names a few project names that you've heard throughout the years, but that consists of the Goliath project that's closer to Dryden, and then the Goldland project, which is closer to Sioux Lookout, was in the old Tamaka or First Mining Gold property. And then coming along with that is what we're calling the Miller project, which is actually a brand new maiden resource that we're starting to put out to market. So First Mining had done about 18 months worth of drilling on that, but we're taking that into some more detail. So just a bit of a quick look on the agenda on the call for Treasury Metals, intro to Goliath Gold Complex with the team, some of the economic highlights, and then project site plans and layouts with local benefits. And so it's a really brief presentation. We're kind of planning on 10 or less than 15 minutes, so won't go too far, but certainly, as Max said, we're very happy to give more in detailed presentations. COVID eds, we're happy to have people to site and show them around, show them what we've got. And then at the same time, we're kind of starting to develop a few more 3D models and that kind of thing. I know some of the pictures in this file aren't fantastic, necessarily to look at, but hopefully we can bring some of those actually in person and it gets a better feel. So in terms of who's on the call, as Mac mentioned, Mac is the manager of environment and community affairs. So Mac's been with the team for, like he said, almost a decade now. Mac and I joined basically at the same time. And we've got a lot of history in terms of how the project's developed. And Mac certainly has a really good on the ground knowledge of the project. If someone knows the Goliath site and now he's becoming more familiar with Goldland, he's the guy. So he's been walking around counting birds and fish and all that kind of stuff for years. So certainly any questions can be directed to him. Mackenzie Denise has just joined us. I say just joined us. She was actually a consultant at Wood, and she was working directly with our project throughout the environmental assessment process. So when we got into the consolidation and we needed to staff up, she was, star candidate, and we worked really well together, and so we brought her on, and she's helping us get through a lot of the other regulatory stuff. So it's a great add. And then Jeremy Wyeth, who's not on the call tonight, is our new CEO. He joined in December, so he's a couple months in now, but he's starting to get his feet wet a little bit. He's got a lot of experience in terms of mining, construction. He was most recently at Wood and part of their mine design and construction team, and he was leading up the Victor Diamond Mine back it's probably 15 years ago now. So he's got very direct experience in actually getting a mine from where we are today to that next phase, basically, and into construction and production. So I guess, show the board showing their, intention or their willingness to, actually want to get in here and build it and develop it through to those phases. So in terms of, kind of our intention, that's what we're looking to do, to take it from here to there, as opposed to dressing it up and selling it. So working through it, that's our intention going forward. So Mac, if you want to go to the next slide. In terms of location, I mentioned Goliath is approximately 15 minutes, 20 kilometers from Dryden itself, just on the eastern edge of Thunder Lake. Treasury's had that property for almost 15 years now. We've been kind of pushing it along. And then just last year, we ended up purchasing the Gold Lund project from First Mining. So that's approximately 25 kilometers from, called the center of the Goliath project, about halfway to Sioux Lookout up Highway 72. And then the Miller project, which is another 10 kilometers further northeast towards Sioux Lookout from that. So obviously the Miller is closest to Sioux Lookout, with Goliath being close to Dryden. And we do like to highlight that we've got 65 kilometers now worth of strike length. And by strike length, we mean, the geological formations. As you follow those, you can line them up from Goliath to Gold Lund to Miller, and anywhere in between or beyond. And so we feel that in the future, there's, a very good potential of turning that into more of a region or a belt with exploration. We've got 10 years worth of mine life now, but hopefully with additional exploration, we can continue to add on to that with additional deposits as we grow. So, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go well upwards of 10 or even towards 20 years, if you follow something like a Timmins or a Red Lake that's been operating for hundreds. But certainly a lot of work to get to that point, but that would be the ideal situation in the future. Mac, next slide. A couple of the economic highlights from the PEA preliminary economic assessment, which we just released last week. We released the report, so that's up for reading. You can find it on our website. But what it is a technical report that takes all of the geological knowledge and the mining knowledge and combines them, basically, in that seeing how the three projects now fit together, because this is the first time that anyone or any company really has taken out to the public as how those mines may interact with each other. And what we see that as is a central or a processing facility. It's not necessarily centralized to the projects, but one facility at Goliath that's doing the milling and the processing, extracting the gold, with the Gold Lund and the Miller deposits feeding into that process. It comes out as, current gold prices or current estimated gold price of $328 million worth of NPV and a 30.2% IRR post-tax. And so those are, we're pretty happy with those. I think the stock price dropped a bit. I think people were expecting more, but that being said, what we've done is taken a conservative approach on it, something that we're happy with, and we're, confident that we can go forward and actually build in a mine in. And, there's a lot of stories in the industry of things not going to plan. And so we've tried to put a little bit more in de-risking and, making sure that we've got a bit of contingency in there such that, if something does not necessarily go to plan and we have to adjust, then we're okay. It is low capital intensity, 233 million. Does sound like a lot of money, but in the mining space, there's a lot of projects that are well over $1 billion to get them up and going. So for a company like ours, it's something that we can actually bite off and chew. a small company with a small market cap, we should be able to raise that money if all the things line up. What we have right now is a 13-year life of mine, 102,000 ounces over the first 1 to 9 years. And we think that is a critical mass going forward for the project. And really everything about it is a pretty technically simple project. We're not reinventing the wheel. The mining is simple. The processing it processes very well, very easily. So everything we're doing is very tried and true processes and going forward on that basis. Mac? If we give a quick look at a bit more zoomed in terms of the site layouts, you can see what the outlines basically of what the Goliath looks like. So if we have a 3D model, it'll better show that, but you can see the open pit in the middle in the gray outline, and that's it's about 1,500 meters in length, 300 meters in width, and then depth, it goes down to about 100 meters below surface. So it's quite a small pit in terms of an open pit mining, but we do have an underground resource below that. So you can see in the upper left-hand corner, the purple shapes that are below the open pit, those represent the underground areas or stopes, that the rock that we can go take out that has the gold in it. There's a waste rock storage facility to the north, so we do store the waste rock from the open pit on the surface. The plant facility is fairly small and compact. It's moved around a little bit from previous iterations, but what we're really trying to do is just keep the footprint as tight as we can and keep it as close to the power line. So there is the 115 or 230 kV line that goes through there, and just maintaining the offset from that, but making sure that kind of infrastructure we're taking advantage. And then the tailings storage facility is out to the northeast. The tailings are waste rock basically. So to process it, you take the rock with the gold in it, you crush it up to, in essence, a sand or even a dust. You're able to take the gold off of it with a process, and then everything that's left over basically goes out into the tailings storage facility. So that's the full mine life worth of storage. It's a conventional facility with dam and line, and we do have a liner underneath to keep seepage from coming out, or we've designed a liner underneath, and then we do look at a cap going on for closure. If we look at just a real quick slide comparatively to the environmental assessment that we did, that we got completed in 2019. So we proposed a Goliath only, and so we did get that approved from the federal government. You can see the outline in the green is the outline of the footprint that we proposed in that project description. The outline in yellow is the updated project footprint that the PEA outlines. And so really what we're pointing to is that it's not a huge change in terms of a high level look. If you're looking at it, it's very similar. Some of the capacities have changed, but in terms of the actual footprint, and we're in studies now to determine the environmental effects, but we see the environmental effects as being very minimally different, non-materially different from what was approved in the project. And so we've been going forward on that basis, to leverage or to, there's a lot of work to get there. We don't want to ball that up and throw it in the garbage. So using that as much as possible. And so we've kept that to basically the same footprint as we had previously. And it is just a total increase of about 16%. So fairly small to take advantage of those additional resources from elsewhere. If you look at the Gold Lund project, you can see the red line down on the bottom, Highway 72. So it is accessed off of Highway 72. It's about 4K on an older forestry road or Gold Lund Mine Road, I think it's called, but a small road. But it's 4K from the highway. Very similar in terms of open pit. It's about 1,500 meters in length, slightly deeper, 130, but not big by any means in terms of open pit mining that you might see elsewhere, Rainy River or Detour Gold or something like that. It is still quite a small pit. We have a waste rock storage facility. The rock at Gold Lund is considered non-acid generating, or the testing we've had so far. 97% of the tests have come back as nag or non-acid generating rock. So that's a real bonus in terms of closure and maintenance of the process in the facility. And then we are looking at a feed transfer station that's going to take the rock from there, and we're going to haul it via truck to the Goliath for processing. And finally, the Miller deposit, again, very close to Highway 72. You can see it in the red. As I mentioned, it's a maiden resource. So the First Mining had done about 7,500 meters worth of drilling to get this. And so there's about 80,000 ounces worth of gold within it, of which we can probably mine about 50. So we're looking to grow that. Additional drilling, we've got a drill on site there right now that's testing to see if there's extensions of gold. And so we'll see if we can grow that, but that's certainly the intention, and hopefully, find additional gold and continue to upgrade that into, the more we can find there. If we find 100,000 ounces, that's an additional year of mine life. So you turn from 13.5 to 14.5 or 15 and onwards. So there's some definite opportunity to continue to grow. And Mac? And then just a couple of local regional benefits. We tried to highlight some of the numbers that came out of the PEA. Mine life is 13 years, so there would be 13 years worth of jobs and opportunities. We've got 2 years worth of construction that's somewhere in the range of 450 to 500 employees, depending on the phase. Salaries during those times are 209 and 80 million respectively. So, I think there's a lot of, good paying jobs that certainly we're trying to keep as much in the region as possible. I think, again, trying to leverage what we've got to look out, and Dryden are obviously right there close and ready to go. We feel that having resident workers as opposed to a fly-in, fly-out camp type operation is going to build a better workforce over the long term, and that's how we're trying to build it up. Some of the other, materials and supply contracts, 110, freight contracts, $72 million was estimated over the life of mine, and that's something, we speak to communities or local contractors or First Nations as opportunities for contract opportunities. So, someone could buy the trucks and they could haul that material for us, as that's not really what we're experts at. So if someone can take care of that, we'd be happy to, be giving contracts for jobs and opportunities. So that kind of thing. And then in 15 years, a lot of diamond drilling and exploration. We've got $15 million planned, financing dependent, obviously, in the next 2 years alone in terms of drilling. So there's a lot of kind of work and opportunity to go along with that, along the life of the mine. Mac? And I think that is kind of it. It's pretty quick. Like I said, we don't want to take too much of everyone's time, but hopefully that gives a bit of an overview of what the projects are and how we see going forward. And like Max said, we're certainly happy to do more in detail and give a longer in-depth presentation or questions or anything of the sort.
Thanks, Mark. Mac, I'll go around the council table for questions, comments. All right. Councilor Lego.
Yeah. When do you expect the mine life to start? Like what year are you projecting?
Yeah, so we've got our outset right now. We've probably got 2 years worth of permitting to go in terms of Goliath to get it there on provincial permits. Goldland would be 1 year past that. And so we're looking at 2023 for having, late 2023 for having permits in hand, 2 years worth of construction. So it puts us into late 2025 or early 2026 to be into production, basically.
Okay. Yeah, well, I hope Goldland and Miller take off. That Goldland mine's been in limbo or sitting there for many years, as long as I've been in Sioux Lookout. So I wish you all the best with that. And it would be a great addition, so close to Sioux Lookout. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fanland.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got lost. No, I have no comments on it. So it sounds like it's a good project to be involved with, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Howie.
Councillor Lagos stole my question, but thank you for your presentation and look forward to it taking off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
No, same as Councillor Lego. I was wondering when it would be, when the mining would start. So, thank you. Interesting.
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. That's good to see. Will you be using the like Highway 72, or will you be planning your own access road between Goldland and Goliath?
So what we've got laid out in the PEA is the use of Highway 72, just a typical standard dump truck. I'll caution that as that being a baseline, basically. I mean, we did a pretty high level look of some of the other options, and there's definitely other options. But the road kind of being there, we're looking at a back road in as well. About Hartman Lake is potentially, there is a existing forestry road, so if we could upgrade that and get that permitted to be connected, we could avoid any of the traffic that goes down through Northway, Highway 17, through Wabigoon, and then up to the site, and then at the same time cut off distance as well. So that's the intention that we see as a baseline. That being said, in the next phase of study that we're doing right now, we've got a number of trade-offs, that being one of them. Is there a different way to do it? Is there a better way to do it? Potentially, an overland road of a more conventional mining haul truck, something that's a little bit bigger, that keeps it off the road. So we'll have to see. We'll have to take a look at what that would actually take in terms of long term and getting that through.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I also think it's great to see all these developments under one umbrella company. I think that's a great approach. My question is around the housing. We all know there's housing issues around, and you're projecting average of 250 employees throughout the mine. What strategies have you guys reviewed or looked at to help potentially find housing within the adjoining communities?
Max, do you want to take that, or?
Yeah, I can take the first pass on it. As it relates to housing and social considerations as a whole, as we evolve, obviously PEA is the first step with PFS level detail. Moving forward in terms of taking an evaluation in terms of the social needs, particularly housing. Housing is a major component that we know has been carried forward by both obviously Sioux Lookout, but City of Dryden as well. And we know it's going to be a major consideration. And with the 2-year essentially projected time limit or time frame moving ahead, I think that's a big part of the conversation with Vicky and the Economic Development Group here and in Dryden to ensure that having a local workforce, we're establishing the access to housing. I know from friends who live in Sioux Lookout, it's pretty tough to get a house, and it's on the market for a short little bit. Dryden is ramping up in the same kind of fashion. Housing will be a major consideration moving ahead, and something that as a company is going to be a big focus to ensure that we're going to be creating a social situation that's going to be sustainable in the long term to support mine development. Obviously, there are employment and economic concerns, and that's something we're going to have to work fundamentally with the team and Vicky and her team and the city and the town of Sioux Lookout to work to address.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for your presentation. I have a couple of questions related to you put up a table of expenditures and revenue, whatever. How much I would say it's goods, services, and employment do you see procuring in Sioux Lookout?
I think Sioux Lookout, I don't think we have it down to that granularity. but certainly our, our call it intention, or we've always said that we want to keep it as local as possible or as regional as possible, and we think that anywhere from Thunder Bay to Kenora certainly has lots, if not all, of what we really need. I think there's a lot of local things that we can order. Looking at something like there's a res equipment in Dryden, something like that, and I'll be honest, I'm not up to speed as to what Sioux Lookout has to offer. So I think working together certainly to make sure that we're on board with that. We've been pretty Dryden and Goliath focused throughout my 9 years here, but certainly I think between be it labor or supplies and call it contractor services, I think there's a lot of opportunities throughout both communities of Dryden and Sioux Lookout.
I'm sure that our economic development manager, Vicky, can help avail you of everything the Sioux Lookout has, which is considerable in terms of servicing. I was on a call earlier today, and the mayor and CEO of Red Lake were on the call. Now, their mines are more directly located in the municipality, but I believe the number that the CAO used was $400 billion worth of gold has been taken out of Red Lake, and Red Lake has got very, very little benefit from it. There, for us sitting here, knowing that they have an industrial tax base, it's because it's in the community is something. But it's just how do we optimize what we can gain from these mines? It's great that the mines are going ahead and the concepts are fine. As a municipality, how do we optimize our benefits?
Certainly, and I think that's important going forward in terms of making sure that we're all on board to do that. And like Max says, talking with Vicky and making sure that we've got a plan. I know Vicky sent an email earlier today asking specifically about that road that I suggested. And so I think already there's kind of opportunities that are starting to develop now that we're taking hold or taking control of Goldland and starting to push it forward. Certainly it's a new opportunity for us, but I think there are opportunities there for sure.
Great. I can't direct Vicky, that's the CAO's job, but I can certainly ask you to work with our economic development because we are very interested in optimizing our benefits.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And just to add on what Mark had said there, obviously Sioux Lookout has a significant, obviously workforce in place and a community that services the north, but also there is a multi-billion-dollar power line getting built out of Sioux Lookout. The services and the experience in terms of major infrastructure projects is obviously most of those employees are transitional and moving through, but taking advantage of the learnings, obviously having a major infrastructure project in the backyard and then one coming up. Hopefully in all regards, taking those learnings, obviously with Vicky and her team, but also the community as a whole and integrating them across Goliath, Goldland, and Miller. I think all in, we want to take advantage of that and take as much as we can from Sioux Lookout and help build up that industrial base. It is a service-driven town. If we can develop, whether it be joint ventures or different capacity building exercises, build those enterprises as part of mine development. That's a positive impact and one that we want to see developed and be at Sioux Lookout in the area.
So I mean, our airport comes to mind as we are the hub of the north and it's extremely busy. We have services in town, training services. I think of SLAM, the Sioux Lookout Area Aboriginal Management Board, who has considerable capacity for training, and I'm thinking about the possible manpower, human power resource in the northern area that could be trained here and work on your site. So there's many things, and I'm sure Vicky will go through them with you. Thank you very much on behalf of council for your presentation, and let's stay connected.
Absolutely. And on behalf of the Treasury team here, I just want to say thank you to respective counselors, obviously the Town of Sioux Lookout staff and yourself, Mayor Lawrence, for having us. We appreciate it. And COVID notwithstanding, I assume we'll be in person in Sioux Lookout doing a public community meeting in the near future, talking about Goliath, and be me, myself, and not me, myself, and I, but Mark, Mackenzie, and I there. Although hopefully it's not me talking all the time or me drolling, but no, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone taking the time tonight, and have a good, successful council meeting the rest of the night.
Thanks very much, Mac.
Mayor Lawrence, if I may just thank them for their presentation, and I'd like to reassure council that we have started off on a really good footing with Treasury, and we look forward to continuing our dialogue and interaction. And I think we'll be seeing some good news coming out of working with Treasury in the very near future. So we will keep you posted. And thanks, Mark, Mac, and good to meet you, Mackenzie.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
a
you very
lot.
much.
Have a great night.
And we'll move on to the items requiring separate discussion. And the first one we lifted, I believe I lifted this. I just, I was surprised it was going to slip through, but item 7.1, the council receives the 2020 annual report as per Schedule 22 of Ontario Regulation OREG 170-03, drinking water systems for the Hudson Drinking Water System and the Sioux Lookout Urban Drinking Water System on March 17, 2021. The annual reports prepared by Northern Waterworks Incorporated are presented to Mayor Doug Lawrence, council members, and CAO Michelle LaRose. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Bath. Discussion. I'll start off the discussion since I lifted. I think Councillor Bath, you expressed some interest as well. Just wanted to say thank you. It was an excellent report. I think Dan on the line.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. And I know Andrew, our Public Works Manager, couldn't be here this evening for other reasons. So I noticed this year, you might be able to confirm for me, Dan, there was no incidents where we were out of the parameters, out of exceedance, no non-compliance. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
That's truly remarkable, because usually you might, I think an average number might be, I think we've seen is 4, 5, 6 or whatever, and it's not hard to be out of compliance. It's very hard to be in compliance for a full year. So I just wanted to bring that to attention and say thank you very much, Dan.
And thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Bath.
Well, I usually make a point of lifting this every year, but you stole all my thunder because everything you just said is what I was going to say. It's nice to see such a clean report. I don't think we've ever had one like this. It's a great thing for us to see that. And we get Hudson, I noticed had a couple of little blurbs, but we'll get those cleaned up for next year. We'll have 2 of them just wave on through. But I will pick them up again. Thanks very much, Dan.
Good, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Bath. Yeah, you've set the bar rather high, Dan, because when you get back to the normal 3 exceedances, it's going to look bad again.
Yeah, well, it's not all me. The Nick, our compliance person that put together, compiled this report, does a very good job of what he does. So he's very helpful to us here.
We'll pass on our thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on council have a comment before I move on? Councillor Timpson.
Just to maybe next year, I think it'd be really helpful if the Northern Waterworks was able to do just a very brief synopsis of the synopses, just to bring it all together into a short presentation. Because some of us just really don't understand the terminology in the report, and so it would be helpful.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of information in there, that's for sure. And for people that don't deal with it throughout the year, or just look at a report like that at the end of the year, it's quite a bit to take in for sure. So I can talk to Nick about that and see if possibly he might be willing to do that next year at this time for you guys, so that you know, he knows exactly what everything is in the report. Most of the stuff I know, but when it gets really technical, you know, that's where he shines. But I can talk to him about that for sure.
Thanks, Dan. You may be getting some questions from Thunder Bay because just by absolute coincidence, I got a text message from my grandson in Thunder Bay, he's in grade 8. Hey, Grandpa, I'm doing a science project on how Sioux Lookout treats its drinking water. And I said, have I got a report for you? So I sent him a copy of the report, which I believe is public information.
Well, it's funny because Thunder Bay uses the same membrane treatment technology that we use here in their plant.
Very good. Thank you. So if there's nothing else, all in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Item 7.7. The council approves the Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee's 2021 work plan and budget request submitted for council's consideration in compliance with bylaw number 79-15, being a bylaw to establish the terms of reference for council created committees. Moved by Councillor Fenlon, seconded by Councillor Howie. Discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, we discussed this at the committee on Monday, and people are quite enthusiastic about it. I had suggested that we look at the section that says review of municipal policies through cultural lens, and we've done some of these reviews retroactively, and I've made some changes. But I had raised the issue that there could be times in when the staff or the council is looking at a new policy where if there's a question that will this policy in any way impact negatively the First Nations population, who consist of half of our population at least, that our committee be consulted. If there's some question, it's hard to say what the issue might be. And I think the CAO had suggested that council could request this. I think that's what you did say, Michelle. But it's something I think that would be worth our while, because there have been policies that have put in that have really overlooked the fact that we are 50% of one culture and 50% of another culture. And rather than be always retroactively looking at policies, that we could be a bit proactive.
Thank you. CAO, did you staff resource?
Yeah, just for clarification. Just for clarification through you, Your Worship, it was discussed at our TRC committee, and what I would do is remind the members that this was discussed at council before, and there is background to that. I don't want to put my clerk on the spot, but he would have the history of that as well. And what I suggested to the TRC committee, if this is something that they wanted, because it's not our normal process to have committees vet it, it's usually council that does that and approves any policies or bylaws at the table, that we would do a report to council with a recommendation for council's approval to do such a thing. So I'm not sure if our clerk wants to comment, but I'd like to give him that ability. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, so just to remind council for your benefit, council did pass a resolution in 2019 on this matter specifically, which essentially asks that that, you know, as policies are developed, reviewed, and updated, that efforts be made to ensure that cultural inclusiveness is considered, and that where applicable, such changes or inclusions be made in consultation with Indigenous persons. It wasn't specifically to be referred to the Truth and Reconciliation Committee at that time, but more that Indigenous persons be consulted.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson?
Yes, I recall that. I just think it would be useful to use the committee that we have at hand from time to time when we are concerned about something, and get their input as well. And we may go beyond the committee, but we do have people there that are ready and willing and working well with us. So I'm just putting that in there. I'm just throwing that out that was a discussion surrounding that particular initiative number 2.
On, if I may, I think on one hand, in reference to what you said, Clerk, and that was what in 2019, the committee does offer a quick access, easy access to consult with Indigenous persons. So it may be not necessarily the only place that we go, but there is a place to go that is currently under the municipal umbrella. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say, yeah, too, and the committee could even advise us to who should we go to, like who would be the appropriate person to consult on a particular issue if they didn't have a position, or they can advise us on the politics of who we might go to, which would be more effective and more appropriate. So I don't know whether that should be reflected in the work plan or if we just keep that in mind. I'd like to see it in the work plan, just reference to that.
CAO?
If this is something that council wants, then it would be a directive from council and not necessarily reflected in our work plan, because that's a committee work plan, and they don't have the authority to say that you shall consult. It's council. So if that's council directive, well, we can pass a motion to that effect if that's what council wants.
Are you suggesting that we do that now, or if council wanted that?
If that's council's wish, we can either bring it back to the following meeting or do it this evening. I would defer to our clerk for that.
Perhaps I'm going to just let the clerk off the hook and say, why don't we bring it back to the next meeting? Is that fair enough? And then you can word it and consider it. I think we want to word it carefully and appropriately. I know you do that even when you do these quick motions, clerk, but I want you to have suitable time.
Okay.
All right.
We will make note of it to bring it back to the next meeting.
All right, and then we can have further discussion. So unless there's somebody on council wants to make a comment, any further comments on this resolution? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. And item 7.9. That council, in recognition of the absence of complaints regarding the keeping of chickens, and in recognition of the importance of promoting locally sourced food and food sustainability, direct staff to take no further action on the development of a regulatory framework respecting the keeping of chickens. And further, the council directs staff to implement dispute resolution measures should complaints arise in the future among neighbors respecting the keeping of chickens. And further, the council directs the Environment Committee to develop educational materials to assist residents who wish to keep chickens so that they may do so in a humane way that respects neighbors. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Discussion, Councillor Timpson, start. Sorry, you lifted it, Councillor Timpson. Starting with you, Councillor Timpson. Councillor Timpson?
Yeah, just a couple things. I was wondering if the clerk could give us a little bit more information on how you would envision this mediation process would work. The Environment Committee is supporting the recommendation, but I'm wondering how you would envision that. And the second thing was that when it says directs the Environment Committee to provide education. We had attempted to do that at one point. There was a person interested and that didn't work out. So I'm wondering if that should go back to the Environment Committee as to whether we feel we are able to do that at this point.
Clerk.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, with respect to the question about the mediation process, I think that those avenues have to be explored and those options need to be looked at. I don't have a firm recommendation as to what that would look like at this time. That would be something that would need to be brought before council and council approved, as there would likely be some costs associated with it. However, with respect to Councillor Stimson comment on the Environment Committee providing education, I included that recommendation precisely because previously the Environment Committee had expressed interest in doing so. I wasn't aware that that interest or ability had left.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, it was a person who was who knew something, who really knew a lot about it, and is no longer on the committee. I would just suggest that be taken back to the Environment Committee to find out if in fact they feel that they could provide that education, or if we could find somebody that would provide it, some process. At this point, I would be just a little bit worried about the committing the Environment Committee to that without our knowing whether or not we can do it.
Clerk.
Through Mayor Lawrence, if there's agreement by the mover, we only require the mover to assent to a revision to the motion on the floor. I would simply suggest that the last paragraph be removed from the motion, and it can be discussed by the Environment Committee in the future, and then they can make a recommendation to council as to whether or not they wish to proceed with public education or if they have other suggestions.
So this was moved by Councillor Bath, and so Councillor Bath, would you, based on what Councillor Timpson has said, be willing to remove the last sentence starting with that council directs the Environment Committee?
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. It's I think that's a great idea. I think it's a bit rather than put it on their plate if they're not really interested in it. You know, I'm really happy to see that clerk, that we've moved this way. 2 years ago it was a slugfest to get it going, and to move this way and utilize our existing policies really is certainly a time saver. Whether it was a time saver for staff, I probably suspect not, but it's just a time saver. We don't have to write a whole new policy. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. So that the resolution on the table now, clerk, moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Timpson, is the same as the original read with the deletion of the last sentence about directing the Environment Committee. Any further comments, Council? Councillor Timpson.
I was just wondering if Councillor Cassidy wanted to respond as the other member on the committee.
Yeah, I have asked the council, and I was aware of that, but he's had the opportunity. So
yeah, no, I think you nailed it, Councillor Timpson. I think that's a good approach. No, no news is good news. I'm glad to see that we are not in the. I was scratching my head if we were going to be in the business of regulating chickens and not regulating taxi cab drivers. So I'm glad to see that this is the way we're going. I think it's the right way. So.
All right. Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And that moves us to bylaws. How are you feeling, Mr. Clerk? You've got a long list tonight.
I feel great, Mayor Lawrence. I'm happy to lend a hand if you so desire.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So the following bylaws are being presented to council for 3 readings and passing. Bylaw number 08-21 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 54-20, being a bylaw to establish a health and safety policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and to adopt certain health and safety policies. Bylaw number 17-21 being a bylaw to authorize and direct the mayor and the clerk to execute a contract between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and Renew Construction Inc. for the designated substance removal and selective demolition of the former Mayfair Theatre for that project. Bylaw number 23-21 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into and execute a municipal funding agreement for the transfer of dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program between the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux and the Minister of Transportation, Province of Ontario. Bylaw number 24-21 being a bylaw to authorize and direct the mayor and the clerk to execute a contract between the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux and McSweeney and Associates in an amount of $50,713 plus HST for the tourism modification project. Bylaw number 26-21 being a bylaw to regulate the cemeteries of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux and to rescind bylaw number 28-12. And bylaw number 27-21 being a bylaw to authorize and direct the mayor and the clerk and the Municipal Management Negotiating Committee to execute a collective agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUPE, and its local 2141.
Thank you. The bylaws 0821, 1721, 2321, 2421, 2621, and 2721 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Notices of motion to reconsider.
We have none.
None. Outside resolutions, request for endorsement.
We have none, Mayor Lawrence.
And Councillor reports. Councillor Lego.
Oh, nothing to report for the last month. It's been very quiet.
Thank you. Councillor Fenelon.
Had one meeting, LCC meeting on Tuesday before last, I think it was. Productive meeting, and they sorted everything out with some of the wood supply that's come through. So hopefully after half loads are off, things will start moving again. That's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Howie.
Nothing major. It's great to follow the vaccination rollout in our region and what's coming for Sioux Lookout. Hoping for clinics shortly, but that's all to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
My usual committees, KDMA meeting, the library board, they're almost finished the strategic plan for that library, and environment committee, as we discussed, and environment committee is really a very active, interesting group of people. And, you know, really very interested in the whole environment issue. I really do enjoy that. And the same with the TRC, moving along very nicely. And I think that is, and hospital board, resource utilization committee board, discussing deficits, surpluses, etc., effect of COVID on the on hospital, etc. So that's about it, I think.
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, normally my usual PACE meetings, we've had quite a bit of going on. It's actually an interesting program now that FedNor just approved for PACE. It's a grant of up to $5,000 for not-for-profits. So we've tried to get the word out to any not-for-profits that are hurting a bit from COVID. And this is put on right through PACE itself, but FedNor still has to approve it. There's also two other grant programs that are available. One we're working with Kirkland Lake on, and it's to provide professional services if it helps businesses through COVID. These are all COVID related. If there's information, we can get information, or people can get information from the PACE office in Dryden. And there's one final one. It's a Pbe Expenses. This is also put on by the local PACE. It really is not something to do with FedNor directly. And it's to cover Pbe Expenses up to, I think it's up to $5,000 also. And it's also a grant. And it's being picked up pretty well. There's only a couple of people from Sioux have really got into any of these. So most of them are going into the Dryden area, which is kind of a shame. We need to get some of it here. So if you hear no people who want some, you need to get them to call the base office in Dryden. Another thing was I've had a few calls. I think everybody else seems to get a little digging. So I've had a few calls on a statutory meeting last night that I fielded, or last week, rather, a month that I fielded. So I'm sure other people are too. And so I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, relatively quiet month. Environment Committee composting survey went live. Answered a few questions for the bulletin on that. And daycare, just kind of trying to get some new members on the committee, for the Daycare Advisory Committee, and there's a couple people on the committee hoping to help out and potentially put some work in to get the playground moving and help out any way they can there. So that, got a couple more things coming up in the month now that the weather's getting a little nicer and stuff. So that'll be for the next month going forward. So but happy an early spring seems to be here a bit. So it's good.
Thanks, Councillor Cassidy. Personally, I've KDSB board meetings, some media interviews with the Bulletin and CKDR, involved with the Health Unit Finance Committee and board meeting, and participate in the Health Unit Municipal Council teleconference that they make available to all councillors throughout the region. I think we've had 2 of those. It's bi-weekly. The vulnerable population group that the Health Unit actually facilitates that has met 3 times. The AMO Health Task Force, that was about long-term care. The Friendship Accord's been active on the mining front and on some of the projects that they're doing. So we had a few meetings with the Friendship Accord. The OPP hiring of the new detachment commander process has been ongoing. I've been involved with that with the Police Services Board Chair Darlene Andrikunev and the CAO. And then a meeting with Eric Malello, trying to do that about monthly. We met earlier this week, and the key points I'd asked him to follow up on this time was, again, support for our tourism industry and support for our regional food distribution center, because there's talk of food security in the north and projects, and we have one that just needs a push over the finish line here. And we also made a request for rapid testing for him to look into the possibility of rapid testing at our airport in conjunction with the lab service we have here to help with air travel. Rapid testing has advanced considerably over since the last time we talked about this in the summer of last year. Believe it or not, it was last summer when we talked about rapid testing with our slowdown at the airport. I've had some conversations too about the statutory public meeting. I won't talk about anything in particular other than to say, once again, I'm impressed either how poorly a job we do of communicating the whole process, the planning process, or how poorly it's misunderstood by the public. The municipality basically must consider anything that somebody wants to do to change. We consider it and go through a process. The assumptions are being made that the municipality has already made decisions about certain things, or why would we even consider it? We must. It's interesting, and it is a rather complex process, and sometimes that's the only time that some people, when something of that interest comes up, is the only time they get engaged in municipal affairs. So it's probably not surprising that they don't really quite understand the process, and it probably took all of us, once we got involved in council, a little bit of time to understand the process. So there you have it. Thank you very much. I believe we have a closed session agenda tonight. So motion to move into closed session at 6:40 p.m. to discuss matters of a general nature subject matter relating to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, per the Municipal Act 2001. One item, council, boards, commissions, and committees membership. And subject matter relating to advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001. One item, direction from council to integrity commissioner. So moved by Councillor Howie and seconded by Councillor Fenlon that we move into closed session. All in favor? Carried. When clerk, maybe I'll just ask you to do the motions.
Certainly.
Session. That way we'll get them right.
Okay, I see Councillor Timpson is still in the breakout room. Oh, there we go. Okay.
We're all here. I count to 10 squares and that's it. Good. Ratification of resolutions, passing of resolutions arising from closed session. Please go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. There were two resolutions arising from closed session. The first reads as follows: that council approves amending Schedule A to bylaw number 92-18, being the bylaw to make appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees by adding Jamie McLeod to the Sioux Lookout Environment Committee and Emily Hamilton to the Sioux Lookout Daycare Advisory Committee. And further, the council approves amending Schedule A to bylaw number 92-18, being a bylaw to make appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees by deleting the following individuals: Alan Lee from the Sioux Lookout Economic Development Commission, Brody Marcinet from the Sioux Lookout Daycare Advisory Committee, Ben Bai from the Sioux Lookout Daycare Advisory Committee, and Michelle Turner from the Sioux Lookout Daycare Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Fenlon, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. And we have one more motion.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, the second motion reads that council expressly authorizes and directs the Integrity Commissioner to disclose the identification number of members of council and local boards that seek written advice from the Integrity Commissioner to the clerk of the municipality upon delivery of each invoice to the municipality.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor?
Now, can I have a question?
Yes, I think that's, yeah. We're in open session now, so that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have access to the identity numbers, Brian?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, it would be the clerk.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
I think that the identity number should not be in the possession of the municipality. That's my feeling. So, anyway.
Any further discussion, council? All in favor? Carried. And we're back to confirmatory bylaw. Number 2521, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Municipality of Sioux Lookout, March 17th, regular council meeting, be read first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Bath. All in favor? Carried. And that, council, concludes our meeting. We stand
Gosh,
adjourned.
it's only 7:15. What's going on?
We're stretched out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, Corey.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Night, everybody.